Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers pregame. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me here live in the Xfinity studio, it is Philly's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor. What's up today, Chuck?
I am ready for another fun-filled day of Flyers hockey, William.
Well, it's always fun when the Flyers play the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll get into some of those recent numbers between these two teams a little later in the show. But we had a meeting today in which we saw our numbers, and people have been joining the show at a pretty high rate. We have a lot of new people who have been watching the show recently. And for all of you, I say, one, welcome. Thanks for coming in, watching this ridiculous team and the people who cover it on a daily basis. But if you haven't, hit that subscribe button. Follow us right here on the YouTube page. Pre and post for every single game. 4 p.m. shows basically the rest of the week. 5 Flyers shows per week, not to mention all the other teams and stuff we cover here. Make sure you follow us and hit the like button while you're at it. You know, the likes just make me happy. I am an only child. I am starved for attention. When people tell me they like me, I'm happy about it, Charlie. So like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. You know the deal. All right. So, Charlie, the Philadelphia Flyers back on January 6th, game 41 of the season. They beat the Ducks. Vibes could not have been higher.
It was fun.
At that point, after that game, they are 6th in the East and 9th in the NHL in points percentage. They're 22, 12, and 7. Things are looking good. Playoff drought coming to an end. Then, 2 days later, they played the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're up 1-0 most of the game. They give up a shorthanded goal to Scott Laughton. They lose in overtime. They're 29th in the NHL in points percentage from that day to today. They are 5-9-4. That is a .389 points percentage. It has gone to hell since game 42, that showdown with the Toronto Maple Leafs. They get another crack at them tonight, but man, I really feel, listen, that was a rough one. You know, you give up the shorthanded goal, but you get the point. Okay, we're still alive. We just won that big game, and then they have those 2 Tampa games, and then it's really, okay.
It was a spiral after those Tampa games.
It was really a spiral after that, but it really all started. It was game 42, so it's perfect, the beginning of the second half.
Yeah.
You go back and go, man, what could have been if they just hold on to that one? Maybe it's, okay, yeah, we lost to Tampa because they're awesome, but we're still fine. It feels like the vibes have changed dramatically in the almost 2 months since then.
Well, they absolutely have. This team went from being solidly in the playoff mix to well out of it. Now, if you talk to the players, they still believe they can push this thing back into the playoffs. I think everyone. I was on Kuiper and Bourne today, and they asked me about where the Flyers sit and what's the feelings around the team, and the way I explained it was, you ask anybody in that room, and they will tell you with sincerity and with a straight face that they believe they can play themselves back into this. You ask anybody that's not in that room, and I don't think anybody else in the Flyers ecosystem believes they can get back into this. That's where things are at right now.
And listen, maybe they can play that, us against the world thing and get themselves on a run. They have won 2 in a row. And as we know, if they win tonight, 3, that's a winning streak.
That's a winning streak. Thanks, Lou.
Yeah, Lou Brown, always just the wisdom. But let's get to tonight's lineup, Charlie. First and foremost, it will be Dan Vladar between the pipes. He has been nothing short of freaking excellent this season. I really okay, 907, that number's creeping back up now. He was 903, 04, 05, and now it's starting to come back up, but he's maintained that sub-250 goals against all season. 18, 9, and 6. He's making his 35th start tonight. I started to dig into his numbers, and maybe at a 4 o'clock show or once the season's over, we can really dive into just how good he has been this year. But just a little look at some of the stuff. He has played the full game this season in 32 of his 35 starts, 36 appearances. He's allowed 2 or fewer goals in 22 of those 33 games. In the 3 games, he didn't play the whole game. There's 1 relief appearance in there.
Okay.
He leaves for injury once after the first, and there's another one where he gets pulled. It was actually against the Leafs on November 1st, where he gave up 4 on 19
that was
shots.
his first bad game
that
in
was,
a Flyers uniform.
That was the first game he gave up more than 2 goals, and it was oh, Is it okay? Hot start, but
Maybe he's
this
not
is-
going to win the Vezina.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And he's bounced back really well since then. Again, 2 or fewer goals in 22 of those 33 games. Of course, 35 starts overall. He's been so good for this team. And I think Steve and I were saying this on last post game before you joined us. It's not even like, oh, okay, real good numbers. He's a number one. The other thing he's provided is, a couple seasons ago, Erson's going well. Then he has to play every game because they don't have another goalie, basically. You understand why the numbers fall off. Last year, we have 3 goalies who are basically the 3 worst goalies in hockey. It's, well, if they all suck, maybe it's not so much the goalie as it is the team in front of them. The comparison we have now, same team in front of the 2 goalies, I think it's really put into perspective, like, competence versus incompetence in net and what we should expect from this team.
Yeah, I do push back a little bit on the idea that Sam Ersson being really bad makes it that Vladar is even better. Like, I don't think this is a case where, like, Sam Ersson is bad because he's been playing bad this year. It's not like he has actually been secretly decent, which means Vladar is secretly having the best season in the league because he's at 907 and the other goalie's at 860.
It's more, to me, it's not even like, it's, oh, wow, this team is so much better than you. It's actually just like, we can stop pretending, oh, it's the rest. Like, if the team was better, maybe Ersson, I'm sure the numbers wouldn't be, the worst save percentage in hockey. But, like, if the team was better, but we can actually look at it and go, no, this is a fair way. Like, we can judge him based on his numbers. It's not, well, he's been better in his numbers and the team's just bad. I think it's given us that.
That's fair.
And on top of just actually getting to watch a good goalie, because there's nothing worse than watching bad goaltending. Like, he's given us that as well, which has been cool. But once the season's over, a little later, I do want to, like, dive in fully to just how good he's been, because 907, I don't know if we've adjusted, like you said the other day.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, when 910 was the average, 912 was the average.
Now 900 is the average.
Yeah, now it's like, it might be 899 at this point. Like, who the hell knows? Like, he has been very good, and if nothing else, established himself. And you've said the last couple of shows, I think we need to stop waiting for the bottom to drop out. I think I'm well beyond that point.
Okay.
Like, once we got to, okay, he's hit his career high in starts, and now he's, every time he steps on the ice, he's setting a new career high. Once we got to that, like, 30-game plateau, I'm like, he's just good. I don't know if he's great. Maybe there's another level for him to get to after establishing himself this year, but he's a number 1 in my mind. It will shock me next year if he's 890.
Yeah, I guess I could see him dropping off next year just because goalies are so weird.
Yeah, goalies are weird.
But I don't think it's going to happen this year unless he gets run into the ground because Sam Ersson gets hurt. And
we've looked at that April schedule.
Yeah.
If he plays 12 out of 14.
Exactly. Yeah, that could happen. But I don't think otherwise there's a real chance he's going to fall, because I just think he's on a roll here. He's feeling good about himself. His technique is locked in. The one thing he got so much better at this year in comparison to where he was in Calgary, he's gotten so much better at seeing the puck through traffic, at working through screens. I mean, that's one of Ersson's big weaknesses. He really struggles at that. It's been something that's popped up regularly this season and last season and even the season before that. Vladar is fantastic at it. And given the fact that I suspect, I don't have access to this data, but I suspect that's a recurring problem with this Flyers team. They probably face more screen shots than most teams do. The fact that they have a goalie in Vladar who has turned himself into one that excels at seeing through screens, at working around screens and not putting himself out of position as he does it, I think that probably goes a long way towards explaining the distinction between his numbers and Ersson's numbers. Also, Vladar rarely, and because I said this, he probably will tonight, rarely gives up those, like, glaringly weak goals. Like, that's been one of Ersson's big issues is, he'll have a great first 10 minutes against the Rangers and then give up a goal that never should be a goal. And then you end the first period and you think, how should I feel about this? He made tons of great saves, and then he gives up one that like an ECHL goalie would have. Yeah. Vladar doesn't give up those, like, ever.
That's the, like, part of me thinks, all right, well, you gave up the 3-on-1 and Adam Fox, he makes that save, and then he lets in the bad one. Maybe you can just trade those in your head.
It evens out.
And be like, all right, but since it's a recurring problem, you're not able to do that quite as easily. Now, Ersson did play well the rest of that game, but still, it's like, just stop doing that.
Yeah.
Just stop doing freaking that, man. And that has not been the case for Dan Vladar this season. I think we are still awaiting lines and pairs, but something Rick Tocchet did tell us in his morning or afternoon skate availability, Charlie. Denver Barkey's back. We're going to have Denver Barkey back in the lineup, and I am happy about this for two reasons.
Okay.
One, as we've talked about, just a one-game scratching, go reset, watch, look at what we're telling you need to work on, actually see it from above, all that. Cool. NHL player, way ahead of schedule, still learning. Fine. Two, we're not benching guys in their hometown anymore. And Rick Tocchet actually talked about this in his availability. He said, it's a special thing for guys to be able to like come home and play in the arena. This is his first NHL game against the Leafs in Toronto. That's really cool. I am happy that, one, he recognizes it. Like, it's a good thing to have, like, these are just things that don't matter to anyone else, but matter very much to the players. We learned that very quickly with John Tortorella, that it matters a lot to the guys. It's cool that Denver Barkey gets this. He's from Newmarket, Ontario. It's about an hour away from the Leafs arena. Obviously played in Ontario in the OHL. This is a big deal for him. I'm glad he's in there.
I am too. I'm excited to see how he does. I said on Saturday that I don't have an issue with Barkey or any young player like that, especially any young non-elite prospect, sitting here and there. You're sitting for a game, go check up in the press box, watch a game, and then come back in. But you got to get him back in on Monday. He's got to be back in quick. I'm glad that he is. I believe you now. I want to talk about this Travis Konecny news.
Yeah, Tocchet said TK would be a game time decision, and it looks like Brinna already has it. He's not on the ice for warmups.
So he's not playing.
So he will not be playing.
He's banged up.
TK not playing. He's banged up. It feels like Tocchet says every morning skate, like, well, we got some game time decisions forward, and that was like, well, was Barkey banged up or, what? And it was, he's probably just a healthy scratch because he was out there for warmups, but TK not even warming up. This is huge. This is a huge loss for the Flyers, who really struggle against the Leafs. He's got, obviously leads the team in both goals and assists. And since December 1st, Charlie, 34 games, 18 goals, 38 points. He is tied for 10th most goals since December 1st with Alex DeBrincat, and 18th most points with Kyle Connor and Darren Radish. He's been awesome for this team. And listen, he's their best player, but he's been especially good since the calendar flipped to December.
Yeah. No, he's been fantastic. And if anything, during a lot of this swoon, they've been pretty good since coming back from the break, but certainly January into February was real rough. He was one of the few guys who you could say, even as the team was struggling mightily, that he's still bringing it. There were those. He had that one game where he scores the only 2 goals. They score against Vegas. They're both unassisted. Yep. He had another game where I think they ended up losing it in overtime, but he nearly carried them to another win, basically single-handedly. He's been doing everything he can. He's been playing about as well as Travis Konecny can play. I mean, heck, it was 3 months ago when you wouldn't shut up about how he forgot how to score goals.
I mean, from the second half, it was once again real easy to calculate. From game 42 through the end of last season, and then the first 2 months of this season, he scored 9 total goals. That's rough, but he seems to have found it again, and now he's banged up, and they will be without their most dangerous offensive player in a game that, if they want to get back in, they got to win. That's really what it comes down to. The Leafs below them in the standings, and
they're kind of a mess right now.
And they've lost 3 straight out of the break, all in regulation. They've been outscored 14-5. They're a bad team, but they are right there with the Flyers in the standings. They've just struggled in the first year without Mitch Marner. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the trade deadline, all sorts of stuff coming up on the other side, but we got to take that break. Have you ever had one of those days where you're moving nonstop and suddenly you realize you forgot to eat? Happens to me all the time, and that's why I love what Wawa is doing right now, because Wawa has $5 deals all day, and honestly, it just makes life easier. If you're starting early, you can grab the $5 big breakfast meal deal. We're talking a breakfast sandwich, a hash brown, at any size hot or iced coffee. That's a full morning win for $5, available from 5 to 11 a.m. Then later in the day, the value keeps rolling with a crispy chicken sandwich created your way, starting at just $5. And they've even even got new teriyaki recipes for a limited time. It's real food, real value, and built for busy days. No planning, no overthinking. Just swing in, grab what you need, and keep it moving. Start your day strong and fuel up whenever you need with Wawa's $5 deals. Limited time, exclusions apply. See Wawa.com for details. Gotta have a Wawa. It's time to tell you about Xfinity, because I gotta ask, what if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? Well, that's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together, that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense, and that lets you stream the game even when the whole family's online. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And here's the best part. There's no annual contract, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment is always included. Take it from me, a lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won, records are broken. We hate contracts. Well, dreams grow bigger, but your Wi-Fi, it should stay reliable, and the price should stay put. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply. Go Birds. All right, welcome back. I want to talk about some trade deadline stuff, but this didn't even occur to me. Rick Tocchet said pregame, TK's banged up. It'll be a game time. In all likelihood, he is not being held out of the lineup for trade reasons.
In all likelihood, yes. His name has not come up once. He has a full no movement clause, so he would have to waive that. I guess at this time of year, you can't rule anything out, but the circumstantial evidence seems to imply that this is not trade related. He's a little banged up related.
All right. Speaking of guys who maybe they should be holding out, though, Charlie, my question is specifically about Rasmus Ristolainen.
Okay.
Now, the Flyers...
It's a fair conversation to have.
Delorier and Adam Yinning are both out there. Maybe they go 11-7. Maybe guys just want to get warmups in. Maybe Yinning dresses because you don't know if mid-game you're going to take a defenseman out of the lineup. Trade's not done yet, but it is after the first to get him off the ice. You know, we did this. We didn't do it with Frost and Farabee last year, but Rasmus Ristolainen has played 22 games this season. He missed the first 31, played 13, missed another 6, played 1 game and then another 1 minute of a second game before leaving with an injury, but came back, so he didn't sit anymore after that. He has played 9 straight. He played well in his 6 games at the Olympics. His value and health is never going to be better than it is at this very moment. Why are we dressing our only real trade piece?
I get the argument. I do. And I think we're now reaching the point where it is at least justifiable. There were some people who don't even play him out of the break. And it's no, that's insane. Teams are going to want to actually see if this guy can play hockey. You don't want to wrap him in bubble wrap. But we now are reaching the point where there's 2 games until the break. Okay. I don't think it's crazy. What I will say is that, number one, I don't think they're at a point with any team where it's a trade is imminent. Teams are still in the process of making their final decisions on do we want to give up a first round pick for this guy? And in that case, maybe you want to have him out there playing on the first pair with Travis Sanheim to maybe get another scout to see him well in these games and then come back and tell the GM, we need this guy. He's playing great. Number 2, and this I think is the bigger thing. The big fear about Rasmus Ristolainen from everybody in the league is injury history. There's a reason why you brought it up. That's your big fear about him as well. It's the fact that he can't stay healthy. I don't know if it's a great idea to send the message to all the teams trying to trade for him that we don't even trust that he'll stay healthy, so we're going to pull him out. It highlights the thing you already don't want to highlight to trade partners.
That you make a great point with that. But it is also a normal thing. Artemi Panarin doesn't have that history.
Yeah.
And the Rangers were we ain't playing you till we trade you, because if you get hurt, now we get no value from a guy.
But I think the difference there is that he got pulled once talks got so far down the road
Fair.
that it was like he's definitely getting moved. Now we're gonna keep you off the ice just for for preservation purposes. I don't think talks with regards to Ristolainen are that far down the road yet. If they get to that point, like, wouldn't shock me if he doesn't play the next game. If they're down the road, this was a borderline one. Look, if they didn't play him, I would get it. I don't think it's a crazy. I don't think it's a crazy thing to posit of like maybe you would have been better off scratching him for this game just to make sure, because obviously if he gets hurt in this game, then the Flyers look incredibly stupid. And you want to, generally speaking, avoid looking incredibly stupid and avoid killing any chance you have of getting a first round pick later this week. I just think that there's a little bit more going on here than, well, obviously you should sit him. What are they doing?
It's not as if the injury history is like something we're hiding.
No.
Like it's very available. Brendan just showed those numbers. He's missed almost 34% of his games as a Flyer. He has missed 131 of 387 possible games. That is a ton.
Yeah,
he just misses a ton of time. He's missed significant time in two of the last 3 seasons. We want to say over 20 games, but he's missed at least 8 games in every season.
Yeah.
He's missed double digits in all but one. He gets hurt a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if he gets hurt, you have one guy that you could potentially get something back for of actual value.
It's a risk.
It's
absolutely a risk.
Now you are a team that has lost or has missed the playoffs 6 straight years, which is in all likelihood was going to happen to the Flyers.
Mm-hmm.
And you did nothing at the trade deadline. Like, that's just a poorly run organization.
Yeah, well, it's certainly not going
if he gets hurt, which isn't
certainly not going to look
guarantee.
Good. Certainly not going to look good if Rasmus Ristolainen gets hurt. Danny Briere is going to be crossing his fingers he doesn't.
All right, I want to talk a little bit about the Leafs now, Charlie, and specifically the Flyers' recent history against them.
It's not the best.
It's bad. Now, the Leafs themselves, like I said, they've lost 3 straight in regulation. They've been outscored 14-5. They're not very good. It's just a disaster season this year. For whatever reason, they haven't been able to put it together. Matthews has missed some time. They have 2 guys who've played in all 60 games. It's their 2 oldest players. It's very funny, but you see the numbers. They can't keep the puck out of the net. The power play with all those stars isn't over 20%. Shots per game. It's not like they're peppering goalies with all those highly paid forwards. But that hasn't stopped the Flyers from still struggling against them. They're 0-1-1 against the Leafs this season. Like I said earlier, the slide began with that overtime loss. Since 2021-22, they're 1-9-2 against the Leafs. Their last win against them almost 2 years ago, March 19th, 2024. It was a 4-3 regulation win. They gave up 3 in the third, but held on. The last time they won in Toronto, November 9th, 2019, Charlie.
Wow.
Let's just go through who may have contributed in this last one.
Okay.
Your goals: Phil Myers from JVR and Joel Farabee.
Wow.
And Oscar Lindblom on the power play from TK and Ghost.
Oh, Oscar.
So if you
Oscar Lindblom.
Guys, since TK's out, actually no one who scored in that game is still on the team. They win in a shootout. Brian Elliott stops 38 of 40. And Giroux and Coots scored in the shootout. So Coots is the only guy who showed up on the score sheet that day who will be in the lineup for the Flyers tonight. It has been a long freaking time. My question about the Leafs struggles this year overall, though, all the machinations that could happen with their first-round picks over the next 2 years. They have a top 5 protected against Boston this year going to Boston. Mm-hmm. Or if doesn't convey, Leafs continue to fall, they win the lottery or something, it gets kicked to 2027 when we're supposed to have a top 10 protected pick from them. That would get kicked to 2028 unprotected. What's your preferred out? Like, what do you think would be the best outcome? Have the 2027 know what it is? Or like, hey, unprotected in 28. That'll be the year Matthews is a pending free agent. If they're just like, we got to blow this thing up, that could be a top 10 pick.
I think my general view is I'd always rather have unprotected picks than the protected ones, just because they can. Not only is it you theoretically could get a really, really high pick out of it, and it becomes like a Tyler Seguin situation. But also, those picks are going to have more value in trades for you.
Yeah.
Where for a fact that if you are shopping that Toronto pick to another team over the next couple of years and it's top 10 protected, the team you're trading it to knows that pick can definitely never be a top 10 pick. That at best, it's 11 and likely is going to be significantly worse than that. If you have an unprotected pick that you're shopping, it's a classic like mystery box. Well, it could be a boat. Could be anything. Like, whereas if it's a protected pick, then it can't be this. So I would wait the extra year and then get it unprotected if I had the choice between the two, to be sure.
So we will see how that all works out. Brenda tells me the lines are in, so let's check out what they will be doing tonight. Tippett takes TK's spot on that top line with Dvorak and Zegras. Kate's Michkov Brink stays together. Coots, a returning Barkey, and Grebenkin stays together, and we have D'Lo coming in on that fourth line.
Okay, so they're not doing 11-7.
They're not going 11-7. They're going to go Delorier, Grunstrom, Hathaway, and then on the back end, I assume this stays the same. Yep, Sanheim, Risto, York, Drysdale, Sealer, Andre with Vladar starting. All right. I mean, I just don't want Risto playing because I don't have confidence he's going to stay healthy, but this is basically the lineup I expected with TK out.
Yeah, that's fair. We also got official confirmation from the Philadelphia Flyers that Travis Konecny is out with an upper body injury. He's not out for trade purposes.
Not out for trade purposes, which that didn't even occur to me because I'm like, I know they're not trading him, but who knows? Crazy stuff happens.
I'm not saying that if there's a world where Travis Konecny wants to leave and tells them, I'm sick of this crap, they could move him. But you would think that if he had done that, we would have heard inklings about it.
We would have heard.
The insiders would have it, something like that.
Somebody, like Dallas, when they put, I think they've now ruled out Seguin for the year so they could open up that cap space. Like, hey, we could use a guy who can score. Like, we'd hear something.
Right.
Like, something. Not even from, like, sources here, but the Stars have called Phil. Like, we hear something of that nature. I just haven't, it hasn't come up outside of people being like, we need to trade this guy.
It seems unlikely. It seems more of a, like, fans are hoping that Konecny would come to them and say, I want to leave, because a lot of people didn't want the Flyers to re-sign Konecny in the first place because they wanted the team to do a more full-fledged bottoming out.
No, that hasn't happened. Let's get to tonight's pregame picks, Charlie, and I have 3 for us tonight. The first one I'm doing mostly because you're here and not Steve. Steve believes in jinxes. You don't. Tied after regulation, yes, plus 320.
Going overtime again.
Going to overtime. Listen, 3 of the last...
It's a 7:30 start. Of course we're going overtime.
7:30 start. Whenever the game starts at an odd time, we always get OT. 3 of the last 8 Flyers-Leafs games have gone to OT, including their last meeting. Also, Flyers have gone to overtime 19 times this season. The Leafs have gone to OT 17 times. That's 3rd and 4th most in the NHL. Only the Habs and Kings have gone more. These are teams that go to overtime. They're playing each other. Let's try to profit on it.
I mean, well, look at the coaches. I mean, you've got Tocchet, who preaches slow it down, tight hockey, and then you've got Berube, who also preaches slow it down, tight checking hockey. It makes sense that both these teams would go to a lot of overtime games.
The Flyers are always among league leaders in overtime, I feel like.
Yeah,
like
they hate us.
They just want to get...
hate us so
they
much.
love the loser point so much.
No, they hate us specifically.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about the fan base. I'm talking about me and you specifically.
I think after the Carnival, I'm definitely on the list. All right. Next bet we have is a Denver Barkey anytime goal at 5-1. Why not? It's his first game in his hometown arena.
That would be cool. It'd be a cool story.
The last time he came back from the 1-game scratch, he put up 2 assists, played really well. I think he's going to have some jump tonight. Let's try to get Denver Barkey an anytime goal. And then Jamie Drysdale, over half a point, plus 136.
He's been rolling recently.
7 points in his last 11 games. The power play, as we talked on the last post game, visually better. So there's that. And he's actually from Toronto. One of a couple of guys from the Ontario area in the Flyers lineup. So let's say he has a night too.
Sure.
All right, before we wrap up, let's get to these 2 super chats. First one's from J.E. What's J.E. got to say?
That is very small font. I hope reports are correct and the Stars want Risto. Please throw Tippett in to get Robertson back. Please tell me this is doable. Let me have hope. I go back to 1987, up 1-0, Game 7 versus the Oilers. J.E. Fruscione, I don't think that's likely. Look, I'm not saying that Dallas won't eventually trade Robertson. There has been a lot of smoke about it. It's just really hard for me to imagine they trade him in season. Like, they have a chance to win the Stanley Cup.
Why not win the cup and then be like, all right, man, you are our own rental.
Yeah.
Like, they've been so close, one of those teams for a few years. Like, take one more shot.
Yeah. It just strikes me like,
why get worse?
Like, to me, yeah, you do a deal like that. I don't think you're like, if Dallas did a deal like that now, they would get worse this year and they have a chance to win the cup. Like, it's a downgrade going from Robertson to Tippett, a pretty significant one. And I like Owen Tippett a lot. Yeah, getting Risto back in addition would help, but I still think it's an overall downgrade. Robertson's really good.
One of the things they don't like about Robertson, he hasn't been great in the playoffs. He's a perimeter guy. Tippett's got all those hits this year. Maybe they value that.
And Tippett's a very good skater. That seems like the other thing that people get annoyed with Robertson down there.
All right. And David Shubb checking in says, do the Flyers grab Robert Thomas? A rare opportunity. We're going to talk about that on an episode of The Shootout.
We are.
We're going to record it a little later tonight. So check that out. It might drop tomorrow or later this week or something. I never know the schedule. Brenna does all that stuff. But we're going to talk about it. I think it's unlikely, but who knows? Danny Briere does a lot of stuff we don't see coming, so maybe it's that.
They should be in on Robert Thomas. It is odd to me that we have not heard them linked to Robert Thomas. Again, maybe he's putting up a smoke screen. He's going full stealth mode, but basically no one has named the Flyers as a team in hot pursuit of Robert Thomas, which is weird given the glaring need they have at the position that Robert Thomas plays.
So we'll talk more about that in an episode of The Shootout coming up. But that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers pregame. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, hit that follow button. Follow us right here on YouTube. And hit like. We're not at 100, and that makes me sad. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers and follow the pod wherever you get those. I am Bill. That is Charlie. Thank you to Brenna. Let's go Flyers.
We all silly like the mayor.